Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Saturday, April 22nd, 2023. Lance Brock here to talk some pro wrestling on this Saturday episode. And on today's episode, I want to talk about something that's been in the news as of late. Some speculation, some, as Bruce Pritchard would say, rumor and innuendo going around all the news sites and everything. And that is news about CM Punk possibly returning to AEW. And not only that, but also the news of AEW possibly having its own brand split with a new Saturday show coming that will be called Collision. And that has not been officially announced or anything just yet, or nothing about Punk coming back to AEW has been announced or even really teased at that much. But I just want to talk about it a little bit, give my opinion on if AEW does do a brand split. The talk that is going around is that it would be the second show, Collision, would be one that would be mainly focused and centered around CM Punk. And I'm not sure if I feel like this is a good idea or not for AEW to also have a brand split, two separate shows, Dynamite and Collision. And the question is which channel would this be on? Would it be on TBS or TNT or maybe a different channel? And also, would this be a 1-hour show or a 2-hour show? I've said before on the podcast that I would like to see, it was before Rampage started when they announced that it was going to be on Friday nights. I have talked about how I would like to see them put another show on TBS and have it be at 6:05 at one time. I'm sure all longtime wrestling fans listening know that that is definitely at one time was a traditional spot for pro wrestling every Saturday night on TBS, 6:05. And I think that would be pretty neat to have that back. And I don't know how much of a ratings success that would be on Saturday night. Like I heard John Pollock mention on Rewind to SmackDown that the first few episodes, when there's some buzz about it, it might get a good rating the first couple weeks or so for the first few episodes. But then after that, not so sure if on Saturday night is a good time slot. And like I was saying though, if they do put it at 6:05, maybe the earlier time slot would be better. Because some people, young people these days for some reason, like to go out on Saturday night. And that would be just before maybe some people go out. So before they go out and stuff, maybe they could stay home, watch some pro wrestling for a couple hours, 6:05 to 8:05. I know TBS doesn't do that 05 thing anymore, so maybe they could just do it at 6 p.m., 6 to 8 every Saturday evening, and also do maybe tape Ring of Honor at those shows too. And then for the Dynamite shows, They could tape Dark Elevation or Rampage after too, like they were doing before Ring of Honor started, and this new show, if it does start, they could do that. And one thing I thought about is the titles, and they could have separate heavyweight champions, or maybe they do what WWE did at one time and just have one champion on both shows. They could do that unless they do want separate champions. But as far as the tag team titles go, I think instead of having two separate tag titles, they could just keep the regular traditional tag team titles on one show and then have the trios titles on the other. Also, the women's titles, they could always separate the championships, either if Dynamite stays on TBS and this new show is on TNT, keep the TBS championship on Dynamite and then have the TNT championship, or the women's championship, sorry about that, on TNT. Also, as far as the men's titles go, I'm sure whichever show is on TNT, the TNT champion would stay on there. And I don't know if they would come up with another secondary men's titles for the new show or not. Now the name Collision, not bad. And I'm sure most people listening probably won't know this, but it's not, they're not going to get in trouble or anything, I'm sure. But I'm sure if anyone listening here in Michigan follows the Michigan Indies, remembers quite a few years ago at one time, MPWA had a show called Collision. It didn't really last too long. It was on Channel 20 here in Detroit. And just wanted to mention that real quick. So overall, I want to know what, as that rude motorcycle goes by, doesn't even care that someone's trying to record a podcast. And what do you think? Let me know on the 360 Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com email, or in the comments section here on Spreaker or YouTube, or wherever you are listening to this episode of GMWF. What do you think of the AEW brand split if it does happen? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think Punk coming back to AEW is a good idea? Also, if you do think CM Punk is coming back, who do you think he's gonna work with first? His first program, his first match? Let me know in the comments or the email 360 Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. Also, I didn't do an episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic last night talking about SmackDown. I might try to talk about it more in another episode. Also, just a reminder, no Rampage last night, so it will be airing tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on TNT. Also, High Spots has their Boxamania 44 tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern on their Facebook page, facebook.com/highspots. And if you're interested, last time I checked, there are still some boxes available. You can go there, pick your number, and tune in on the live stream on their Facebook and see what you get. Facebook.com/highspots. It's only $60 to get a number, and the all the prizes will be worth at least $60 or more. You never know what you could get. You can get some autographed promos, action figures, turnbuckle pads. Like they say, everybody's a winner in Boxomania. So that's all for this Saturday episode of GMWF. Thank you everyone for tuning in on this Saturday morning. And hope to have more episodes of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, as I mentioned earlier. But we'll be back tomorrow for the Sunday morning episode of GMWF. Hope everyone has a great Saturday. If you do buy a box for Boxomania today, good luck. Hope everyone enjoys AEW Rampage tonight. Until tomorrow, keep watching pro wrestling.